Hello and welcome to That Shooting Show. My name's Steve Anderson. I am your humble host. Want to thank our partners first. You know them, you love me. Say it with me in your Subaru. Walther is the title sponsor of this program and of AndersonShooting.com in general. I had a conversation with a guy yesterday who said, I got to tell you, that Walther PDP steel frame pistol is the finest production handgun I have ever picked up. Nothing comes close. And I said, this is very rare, but I could not have said it better myself. Yes, it's a little bit pricey, but it does come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. You will love it. It's everything that you wish your striker-fired pistol did, and it's everything that your double-action gun that you like because it's steel and heavy does not do. And the 30-day money-back guarantee makes it risk-free for you to try the finest production firearm on the planet that I have ever handled. If you don't like it, you can go on down the road to an inferior firearm of your choice. Walther will cheerfully refund your money and send that PDP steel frame pistol to Jay Beal, where he will continue to crush souls with it. Also, Targets USA manufactures the finest gun handling gadgetry you can get. CR Speed makes the finest, that's not even right, steel targetry. Yeah, that's right. Targets USA makes the finest steel targetry on the planet. It is portable. It is affordable. It is the very best. CR Speed, as you know, manufactures the finest gun handling gadgetry you can wrap around your waist or anywhere else. Hunter's HD Gold is the only eyewear that I wear, and you can see that I are wearing it right now. You may notice, YouTubers, the lenses are dark. That's because I was just outside. Well, they're gradually lightening to suit the environment. You won't know the sun has gone away unless you don't feel it on your skin. If it rains, you won't even notice until you get wet. That's because the vision never changes with the Hunter's HD Gold. AMG-lab.com Commanderson Timer continues to turn heads and blow minds by putting the time into the tablet, giving you all of the information from the event. And that's going to come in very handy here in a minute. Let's see. Shooting Sports Innovations is a lot to type because there's a lot to see, and OutdoorDynamics.net remanufactures the finest competition ammunition you can dispense from a Freedom Seed dispenser. All right, so we're going to be with Joey Sauerland at the Guncraft Range in Florida, January 3rd and 4th. That one just got finalized. We're going to be in Louisiana, January 18th and 19th. We have mental management scheduled online on Wednesdays in December, Thursdays in January, and we have a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different classes in 2025. Let's let 2025 be the year that you get on the path to your true potential. Let's quit screwing around. Let's quit pussyfooting. Let's get together and let's get this done. I know you're worried about it. I know it's scary to try something new, but I can help you reach your potential, I promise. And once we start working together, I will never give up on you. That's what we do here. You're going to reach your potential, and I'm going to help you. All right, and we do have a bunch of space available in 2025 at the end of February, beginning of March. Let's make this really easy, okay? You tell me what you want to do. You pick a date. We schedule it. I promote it. It's easy. You can be the class sponsor. You can get the class for free. You can host me in your home if you want to. I'm an excellent house guest. I will conform to every rule you give me on what to do, what not to do. I'm very good at that. And we'll have a great time. And you're going to reach your potential. I promise. Let's see what else. So we can do a standard class. We can do an advanced class. What's the difference? Well, the standard class is going to show you everything you need to know from a technical perspective and a mental perspective. We're going to teach you how to practice. These are the basic skills of the sport. This is how you improve them. The advanced class is more reps of less things. And what I mean by that is, and this is going to come up again later on in the show, expanding your limit of human function is about doing reps, high number of reps of the new desired improved skill, technique, behavior until it becomes subconscious, right? You have a limit of human function for everything you can do. It takes you this long to get the gun out of the holster onto the target. Let's increase that limit of human function. Let's let that become normal. It takes you this long to move from this position to this position. Let's look at that. Let's see how we can reduce that amount of time, and then let's do reps of it until it becomes normal. That's what training is all about. That's literally all you ever need to do. Let's see. Oh, and I have a brand new class we can do. I've devised a range layout that makes training everything in the sport possible without moving a single target or shooting position. And I'm super excited to show you how that goes. Let's see what else. Also, want to tell you we just wrapped up last week the first class ever with Kita Bussy. We did that in Florida. We had a small group say, "Hey, I've got a crazy idea. You're the best at this." That's me. "You're the best at this." That's Kita Bussy. We combined those things, and the results were mind blowing. Mind blowing. We were taking 5-10 seconds off of stages with accuracy preserved and in many cases improved. Right? It was an amazing experience. We have part two coming at some point. We're going to wrap up part two with those, and then we'll sort of formalize the joint curriculum, and that'll also be available. So you can have at some point you'll be able to train with me on mental game, accuracy, match mode, and then the mighty Kita Bussy will break down movement in a very, very technical way and get you massive gains off your stage times. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to learn a lot. So that's coming up in the future. More details on that as they become available. So I got a letter. Probably the best shooting letter I have ever received. And we're going to start with that because it's awesome. Here we go. Okay. The title of the letter is A Subconscious Control of Speed I Can't Quite Seem to Mentally Manage. Steve, I telecommuted to your mental management class over the summer, one of the split sessions you offered in July. You may recall me as the guy eating a sandwich in his van. Hang on, let me do one thing here, just so we don't have any weird noise. Okay, fix that. Not a problem. Okay. You may recall me as the guy eating a sandwich in his van. It was actually a burger in a truck, but this is minutia unworthy of disrupting such a euphonious moniker. Whoa. Check out the $10 words on this guy. Next he'll say something like bereft or avarice. It'll be exciting. Overall, mental management has worked as advertised. I especially found the philosophy surrounding self-image helpful. After some thought, I've realized that in a solo sport with no coaches and no support personnel, all stimulus is a challenge to self-image if not processed with thoughtful care. Listen to that again. All stimulus is a challenge to self-image if not processed with thoughtful care. And what that means is self-image is a collection of thoughts about your ability, okay? Any idea comes into that realm and can be accepted or rejected, right? It can be reinforced if it's a good one. It can be rejected if it's one you don't want or don't agree with. You cannot outsmart this. People think they can. Well, I'm smarter than everybody else, so I can take negative imprints all day long and I'll be just fine. You can try that. And his comment's very insightful because in a team sport, let's say I'm a pitcher. Okay, and I don't think of myself as a very good pitcher, but my team needs me to do a thing to win. Okay, if I believe I can do that thing, my long-term self-image is not affected short-term by my decision to do that thing. If I believe I can do it, and if I believe it'll make me successful. So a team sport, I'm not going to say self-image is less important, but I'm going to tell you it works a little bit differently in a solo sport. When you're shooting for yourself, you don't have a team to support or to let down. So your self-image, the current state of your thoughts of ability are literally a filter for your subconscious skill. If you know what to do, you believe you can do it, and you believe that this course of action that you know how to employ is going to get you the best possible result, you get 100% access to subconscious skill. I watched a basketball game last night with my roommate. And in the beginning, the teams were both kind of making mistakes. And then the University of Kentucky team started to pull away. And once their lead got over 20 points, they started playing better. Okay? Because now they're no longer worried about the outcome of the game. Okay, now we can play a little bit more subconsciously without thinking so much about what we're doing, how we're doing it. The other team began playing worse because they're now really worried about the results. Hey, this thing's getting away from us. We're worried. And they started making careless mistakes. Once Kentucky expanded their lead to 30 points, The yellow team, Ipscomb, it doesn't matter. The yellow team started playing better. Once they realized they were going to lose, they quit making mistakes because now they're no longer worried about the results. It's fascinating to watch this. Fascinating. And by the way, that is the sum total of my basketball knowledge. Okay. All stimulus is a challenge to self-image if not processed with thoughtful care. When I took the class, I didn't really have a great goal in mind. I was about to start moving houses, which sucked up all my practical shooting time, and would shortly after starting the class give myself some tendonitis in my left forearm, which stifled my pistol career even further. If it is shooter's elbow, I want you to Google Chad Riley, Reilly, and shooter's elbow. There's probably maybe 4 exercises, there's 3 for sure, that if it is shooter's elbow, will cure, prevent, and treat shooter's elbow. If it is shooter's elbow, you can train through the pain if you can stand it. If it's not shooter's elbow, can't qualify. Okay? All right. But now that I'm moved, my arm is better, and all my local clubs have reaffiliated with USPSA. I want to shoot a string of classifiers on record at 100%. This is very much my speed as far as goals go because it doesn't involve the inconsistent performance of other competitors. I have also noticed that I make the largest gains in my shooting skill when I'm practicing for a published classifier that is attached to an upcoming match for a few reasons. Number 1, it's a challenge I didn't choose myself. That's cool. He's been assigned a challenge. Number 2, there's a static performance metric attached to it, so I can push for, again, no comparisons to the inconsistent performances of other competitors. This is why working with classifiers is so cool. We know the limit of human function. We know what it is. So if you go set up a drill, I'm not exactly sure what a Blake drill is. I kind of know what it is, but there's different versions, I'm sure. And you shoot it in 4 seconds, you may or may not know where that sits in the world of shooting. But if you choose a USPSA classifier, ideally one with some movement, or without, if that's your thing, it doesn't really matter, you know, okay, this is the limit of recorded human function on this exercise. I have the data that tells me the best a human being has ever done it. And if that's my goal, I know when I've gotten there. It's so cool. That'll come up in a minute. Actually, it's been a pretty rewarding pursuit so far. I have picked up a lot of generally applicable shooting skill and have been able to set up the last 4 classifiers published by my local clubs, and in 2 or 3 practice sessions have been able to shoot 100% on them several times in a row, a piece in practice. In practice. Something changes when it counts, though. In practice, I typically struggle to get the time down where it needs to be for that 100% result. Under the clock when it counts, that doesn't seem to be the case at all. This weekend, I found a whole extra second on a 7-second stage. And this has been the case for the last 4 or 5 stages I've tried like this. My body just involuntarily leaps and runs and draws faster, and my hits aren't usually as good. Let's change involuntary to subconsciously. And my hits aren't usually as good. It's like I'm just reflexively running the thing, let's change reflexively to subconsciously, running the thing at 120% speed of what I was in practice. For example, last week I set up and practiced 20-01, Wish You Were Here. In carry optics, the high hit factor is 8.5 and change. It's a 60-point stage. If I run it in 7 seconds flat with no drop points, you get an 8.57 hit factor, which is above 100%. When I started practicing it, I could easily shoot all 60 points in about 7:45, which is a high M score, or start dropping points to get a few extra tenths here or there. Okay, this is where the caution light comes on. Okay, what is happening here is he's not fully distinguished controlling speed in training versus not controlling speed when shooting for score. He's not fully made that distinction, okay? It took a lot of work to get down to 7 in practice. The best practice time I got with all 60 points was maybe 6.96 or something like that. And in the several practice sessions I gave it, I couldn't break 6.9 even if I focused on footwork, relegating the gun and sight picture part of my runs just to adjuster and ignoring my score altogether. But my first attempt under the clock, 6.4 would have been a pretty good score overall, except for throwing a delta and a mic, which is something I would never do in practice. I was mostly fighting against close Charlies. On my reshoot, I did it in 6.8 with 2 Charlies and a regrettable delta for a score right in the middle of M class, which funnily, makes it sound like it's a funnily, doesn't matter. I'm so bereft here. Let's see. Funnily is what I can feel like I'm describing a tornado. It's funnily what I can usually shoot most classifiers at dry, having never seen them before the morning of the match. You got any insight into this strange phenomenon? Between my 2 attempts on the clock, I thought about telling myself to slow down and get your hits, Sonny, but that felt like a conscious control of speed. And I learned that lesson long ago. It's a strange paradox, wherein I feel like I'm forced to consciously slow down to go at the speed I had to strive for days prior. Okay. So, I am at war with the conscious control of speed in competition. Okay? The 2 biggest mistakes in the sport are the conscious control of speed in competition and negative imprints during training. And I'm on a crusade. I'm the crusader against those 2 issues. And here's why it's so important. I sort of I didn't get into it. There's this Facebook thing called the Deliberate Training Group, Volume 2, something like that. And I try to help these guys. When I say avoid the conscious control of speed, I think sometimes they think I'm telling them not to go too fast. Well, going too slow is just as dumb. So let's avoid the conscious control of speed. Let's make this real simple for you, okay? Let's use an example everybody can understand. The L-Pres, turn and draw, 6 shots, reload, 6 shots. If I want to do that in 4 seconds, I need to make that my body's normal speed, okay? And what I really need to do specifically is make sure I can do it faster than I need to live fire it. So if I want a 4 flat lie, and by the way, Mr. Letter Writer, thank you so much. I wish your name was Kenny, then you could be Letter Kenny, and then I could say that's what I appreciates about you. And then you could say, oh, is that what you appreciates about me? Funnily. But no, your name's not Kenny, so it can't be Letter Kenny. One of these days I'll get a letter from a guy named Kenny, and then I can say, that's what I appreciates about you, and you give me that funny smile that's so cool. So, strictly speaking, I need to be able to dry fire that significantly quicker than I need to live fire it. And the other mistake this guy's making is he's looking for a 100% alpha run, which is where the conflict is coming from. Okay, I'm gonna budget some number of Charlies, maybe 10%, because that will happen, could happen as a result of my shot calling, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, and don't worry, I've got it written down, so I'm not going to forget. I've got a list. It's totally fine. So, using the L-Pres as an example, depending on the division and the gun, we need to be dry firing that some percentage faster than we need to live fire it. So PCC open, the gap will be smaller. Carry optics, the gap will be larger. Iron sights, depending on your level of target focus and things like that, the gap could be wider. Right, but revolver is probably pretty close because most people can't split the gun faster than they can see they're splitting the gun. So revolver might be pretty close, and you'll learn that as you start doing this. Whatever that gap is, let's say it's 20%. Let's use round numbers. So if I want to do it in 4 seconds with acceptable shots, I need to be dry firing it in the 3 1/4 range, in that range somewhere, so that my body is performing the non-shooting tasks at the limit of human function that I need for the score that I want. Let's try that again. My body is now able to perform the physical tasks that support the shots I'm going to make in the allotted amount of time. And then my vision is literally the only thing that keeps me away from this limit of human function. Okay? This is why I don't recommend doctoring your splits in dry fire. You pull the trigger as fast as you want, okay? Because you're seeing what you need to see. The gun's not recoiling. You are seeing what you need to see. But in live fire, it takes longer. it takes a little longer to see what you need to see. That is the right amount to have slowed down. Not the right amount to slow down, because we don't know. But that is the right amount to have slowed down. So my body is working at the limit of human function. Okay? My vision is metering out that horsepower according to the visual conditions. Right? But if you take the dry fire cadence and you're now shooting for score, it's going to be a disaster. And then you'll say, well, I got to slow down. And then you're right back where you started, on this effing hamster wheel of speeding up, slowing down, getting closer, getting further apart. You're right back on the hamster wheel. Let's get off the hamster wheel. Let's stop doing this. Let's train to increase the limit of human function. And then let's let vision be our speed output, like adaptive cruise control on a Subaru. Hey, I really want to be going 80 miles an hour because I got to get to the airport. But if there's traffic, I can't go 80 miles an hour. But I'm not going to decide to slow down. I'm not going to go from 80 to 45 just because there's traffic. My adaptive cruise control is going to meter out that speed according to the conditions. I'm beginning to struggle with how simple this is. And it's so simple, right? And from a mental standpoint, when you're properly surrendered to the correct point of focus, you are literally becoming a silent observer of your shooting. This is why your best runs, you don't remember the draws and reloads. And you're not going to remember every hit on target, but if you're calling your shots, you know they're going to be acceptable. When you go score the target, there's not going to be any major surprises. And those of you that don't know you can call your shots, please, 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 come spend a day with me on the range. I'm going to show you the glory of calling your shots. Like I'm some sort of weird supernatural bad guy with pins in my head. I have such sights to show you. All right, so let's get into the outline. Being fast versus going fast. You're a car, okay? Your classification is your level of tuning and equipment. If you're a grandmaster, you're a Bugatti Veyron. If you're a master class shooter, I don't know what you are. You're a stock Corvette, okay? If you're an A class, you're a Mustang. If you're in B class, you might be I don't know, some lower level BMW. I have no idea. You see where this is going? Okay? So you could, let's use Subaru and Mustang as an example. Okay? I've got a 10-year-old Subaru, got a 10-year-old Mustang. You could drive that Subaru faster, which is going to increase wear and risk accidents. Or you could leave the Subaru in the garage and get a Mustang, where everything gets easier and things happen faster. But this happens away from the track. Training is the tuning of the car, or the selection of the car, or the upgrade of the car. And it happens away from the track. I'm realizing that was not the best analogy, but it's still a pretty dang good one. Okay? Now, open road is the limit of human function. It's a hoser stage. It's close targets, close together. You can use all of the horsepower you've got. And by the way, going back to the difference between live fire and dry fire, the closer the target is, the closer the gap between live fire and dry fire. If you look at can you count, the dry fire and live fire times will be very, very close. But if you're on 15-yard partials or hijinks, which we'll talk about here in a minute, the level of human function is reduced. It's reduced by vision, not because I'm seeing partials and I'm deciding to slow down. The things that I'm seeing are limiting my limit of human function. Okay, the accelerator drill is great for this. All right, so targets are traffic and vision controls speed. Adaptive cruise control. I think Subaru calls it something else. I don't know. And it's kind of scary, right? The first time I operated that, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is kind of scary. Well, the vision is doing the work for you. I don't need to worry about gas and brake because the vision, the radar, the sonar, whatever it is handling the speed for me. All I got to do is steer. And if I know where I'm going, if I've got the route memorized, it's easy, right? The limit of human function is my ideal cruise control setting. The only time it comes down from that is when the visual conditions necessitate it. Not because I've decided to slow down, but because I'm risking hitting something that I don't want to hit if my speed's not adjusted by the conditions. I don't understand why this is so hard to understand. Maybe it's my mission in life to explain it. I don't know. But here's what I do know. If you're an IDPA shooter and you learn to shoot zeros without slowing down, you're going to dominate your sport. I did that for a guy in, where were we? Washington State. It's the range, I want to call it Interlock, but it's the range with houses literally 100 yards from the firing line. Cut the guy's stage time in half with the exact number of points down. This guy's been shooting for a long time. He's had speed and accuracy ambivalently joined at the hip. That probably didn't come out right, but we'll keep working on it. Meaning, fast is sloppy, slow is accurate. So I gotta speed up over here and I gotta slow down over there. This one here, well, IDPA doesn't really have speed stages because everything's a one hit factor. However, he's got shooting faster married to being sloppy. He doesn't believe he can shoot accurately at a higher rate. In USPSA, it's even easier to do. Hey, dumbass, shoot alphas without consciously slowing down. Use dry fire to upgrade your car, okay? And on close open targets, you can drive that thing as fast as you want because you're seeing what you need to see. Partials, more difficult targets, are going to slow you down a little bit, not because you chose to, but because the visual conditions require it. And then away from the track, right? So let's say I had a conversation with the same guy about this, right? The non-shooting time is the first place to go look. And at some point, you and the competitor you need to beat are going to be doing all that stuff the same. And then, and only then, are splits going to be a deciding factor. It's the only time. But most of you have so much more low-hanging fruit to go harvest to even worry about your splits. Right? And again, why are we devoting so much time to the single thing in the sport that has the greatest risk for the least reward? When you're losing stages with 95% of the points and you're losing stages by 200ths of a second, well, let's say you're losing a stage by half a second, and this is consistently happening to you. Okay? Well, you could use your amg-lab.com Commanderson timer to figure out where that time is. And for the vast majority of shooters, the vast majority of the time, in the vast majority of situations, it's not going to be splits. You might eventually get to that. If you and the best shooter in the world are doing everything at the same speed, that could happen. But that's going to be extremely rare and only at the very top of the sport. All right. The conscious control of speed is always going to be an error in competition. Always. If you pre-select a speed based on the stage, it's going to be a mistake. Well, I can attack here, I can control there. Of course you can. But if you decide to do that, you might attack a little too hard over here. You might control a little bit too much over there. When I was watching the Open Super Squad, they had a couple of stages where you had to go hard left for two close ones. I mean, these guys were at arm's length. The targets were literally at arm's length. And guys were taking 2 Charlies on them. It's not fast, easy targets. It's fast, easy alphas. Oh, you're telling me to slow down the burner targets. I never said anything of the sort, for the love of Pete and Poughkeepsie. I never said that. Or I denied it because of a trauma response, which is also possible, but not in this case. Why are we taking 2 Charlies on close targets? Right? Why are we doing that? It just doesn't make... Well, a close Charlie beats a fast alpha. Sure, but you know what beats a fast Charlie? A fast alpha beats a fast Charlie. Look at Christian Seiler. Shoot alphas without slowing down. It ain't that simple. Sorry, it ain't that difficult. It's very simple, and I can show you how to do it. All you got to do is dry fire to increase your limit of human function. Well, all I'm doing there is going through the motions without hitting anything. Well, you can tell yourself that if you want to, but if you're impressed with the stratospheric rise of Jay Beal and or Joey Sauerland, Gaz Evans also, but you guys don't know him as well. We'll talk about him in a minute. Dry fire to expand the limit of human function. Learn to call your shots. Let vision control your speed. That's how you win matches. That you want to win your class, that's how you're going to do it. You want to win C class, learn to shoot alphas without constantly slowing down, trim as much non-shooting time as you possibly can from your technique and your stage plan, which is the only thing you really have to do in stage planning anyway. How do I get the best stage plan? Reduce the amount of time spent not shooting. How do I get a higher hit factor? Reduce the amount of time spent not shooting. What about my splits? Hit factor doesn't give a shit about your splits. We'll come back to that in a minute. Oh, look, we'll come back to it now. So, regarding shot calling, I want you to think of it as green, yellow, and red. A green shot on an open target has a very high probability of being an alpha. So if you're calling green shots on open targets, we need a majority of alphas on these open targets, 90-95% alphas. Okay, an 8-yard open target is a dumb place to shoot a Charlie. A 3-yard open target is a dumb place to shoot a Delta or a Mike. Well, I can point shoot those. Well, your success rate is going to be less than 100%. I mean, I do it almost every time. You said almost. That's less than 100%. Gotcha. Good grief. Hit factor. Oh, and then a yellow shot is a shot that you know isn't an alpha, but you're 100% sure isn't a Mike. Yellow zone is very, very small. And depending on the precision of your shot calling, you're not going to have a lot of yellows on open targets. And I'm not going to tell you to make up yellows, but I'm going to tell you to make up reds. A red is a shot on an open target that you know is a Delta or a Mike. And your margin of error, let me find something in this vast, we'll use this. I don't even know what this is. I do know it's not loaded. Okay. Your margin of error is about as big as what it's. That's a little bit too big. Make your own jokes. Let me see what else I can find here. Bear with me. I want to get this right. Okay. This will work. Your margin of error is about as big as this. Okay? All right. So that means if I call a shot in the middle of the A zone, that's got a very high probability of being an alpha. That's good enough. Now, if I call it in the left of the A zone, my likelihood of a Charlie goes up. I'm still going to call it a green shot. A green shot is I am 100% sure that the worst thing that can be is a close Charlie. And some number of those is okay, not a lot. But they're probably not worth making up most of the time. Well, let's find out. Okay? If I'm at a 6 hit factor, Charlie is 2 points down, 2 divided by 6. I've got 3 3300s, let's call it 3/10. I've got 3/10 of a second to prevent or correct that Charlie. I'll make sure I got the hit factor right. Pretty sure that's correct. Don't want any hate mail. 2 points down divided by 8. Okay, even better. Whatever. Oh, I think it was probably a 6. So 2 divided by 6. Yeah, 3/10 of a second. At a 6 hit factor, I've got 3/10 of a second to prevent or correct a Charlie. Now, sometimes people hear this and they go, oh, I got to make up every Charlie. That's not what we're saying. And you do not have time to see a Charlie, to observe a Charlie, and decide to shoot it again with a guaranteed alpha. You can't get that done in 3/10 of a second. Okay? Now, this is where yellow comes into play. Right? Should I make up yellows? It depends. But you've got to make up reds. If you've got a bullet leaving that barrel that you know is a Delta or possibly a Mike, you've got to make that up. Okay? And if you see your dot dip into the white, let's look at an 8 hit factor. Okay? A Mike and a no-shoot is 25 points down. You've got 3.125 seconds to correct or prevent that. That's an eternity. Same 8 hit factor, you've got half a second to prevent or correct a delta. You've got 1.87 seconds to prevent or correct a mic. So when you're learning to call your shots, when you get really good at it, the mystery mics will be a thing of the past. The only mystery mic you're going to have when you get really good at calling your shots is going to be a headshot at a greater distance. And even then, if you're really honest with yourself, you know something about one of those shots wasn't awesome. And it's usually going to be the second one. Because you're obsessed with splits as an industry. It's dumb. Okay? So, all you have to do is take the points down, the hypothetical points down, divided by a known or hypothetical hit factor, and you get how much time you have to prevent or correct that. It's crazy. Let's look at a 5. Okay? Let's say I'm in C class. I shoot a lot of 5 hit factors for whatever reason. 15 points down divided by 5. When is it ever going to take you 3 seconds? 3 seconds to prevent or correct a mic. So we're right back to letting vision control your speed. This is not to be misconstrued or confused with looking for holes in the target. That's not shot calling. I had a guy in one class one time, he was a classic double tapper, and we got him calmed down quite a bit. And then the poor guy was so excited about not being a double tapper anymore that he was making up observed Charlies, and it was not awesome, right? He thought for a brief period of time. Sometimes I don't understand the difference between the shot calling drills and the application of it when you're shooting a stage. He was a little confused about that, and so he's now making up observed Charlies. You don't have time to make up observed Charlies. That's why the shots you're going to call on open targets are going to be green. The worst thing that can be is a close Charlie because you don't have time to look. And at the upper levels of IDPA, same thing. IDPA, you've got a little bit more time, right? You've got a full second to prevent or correct a down 1. But there's still not going to be enough time to look for holes in the target. And I don't want you shooting like that anyway. That's why shot calling is the number 1 most important technical skill you can possibly have in the entire world of practical shooting. There is no skill, obviously beyond the basic fundamentals, but even those, you've got to learn to call your shots to solve the speed and accuracy equation forever. You're going to call green shots, yellow shots, and red shots. Let's restrict it to open targets for now. Okay, on parcels, you're going to shoot them in the center of the available target area up until you're in contention for a world championship, and then that might change a little bit. Most of you are never going to have that be a problem, right? How great would it be? So we do a thing in class that penalizes very severely deltas and mics, essentially disqualifies you. Okay, so if you shoot an alpha or a Charlie on a target, right? Alphas and Charlies score, your raw time is your score. So people start thinking, oh, I'm going to game this drill. By the way, gaming the drill is dumb. If you're in a class with somebody and they've got you doing a drill and you decide to game it, that is D-U-M, dumb. Do not do that. But sometimes people will think, okay, I'm going to game this drill. I'm going to spray fast Charlies and I'm going to win. Well, guess what those Charlies turn into? They turn into mics and deltas. And then they decide, okay, well, I'm just going to shoot alphas as quickly as I can. Holy moly, are you telling me it's that simple? I'm going to shoot green shots as quickly as I can see them. It's magical. And when you let that desire to shoot green shots as quickly as you can see them, when you let that meter out your speed, this isn't 100% alphas. Ain't nobody got time for that, which is probably what's happening to my letter writer. My letter writer needs to budget some number of Charlies into that goal. 2 to 4, right? And work that into your hit factor so your goal time has some number of Charlies budgeted. Because if you try to shoot 100% alphas, that's why this guy's so frustrated, right? He's trying to get his benchmark time at 100% alphas. That's what's slowing him down a little bit. And hope that makes sense. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because we don't have time. We're already running a little bit long. But that's okay. Doesn't matter. If you run a little long, you can make your own jokes. Hit factor is really impressed by reducing the amount of time spent not shooting. Hit Factor is really impressed by reducing the amount of time spent not shooting. That's what Kita Bussey was able to do with the half of the group that she had in Florida. Reduce the amount of time spent not shooting. Hit Factor loves that. You do this by learning to blend positions together to create flow. This will involve some amount of shooting while moving. This will be staying low. It'll be pausing instead of stopping shooting. Right? Think about a VHS. You may have to Google it. Back in the old days of VHS, if you hit stop, it takes a long time for that undercarriage to go down. When you hit play, a long time for it to go back up. But if you hit pause, that doesn't happen. You are ready to go. You've also got a better chance of seeing the dirty bits on the movie that you wanted to see. If that's your thing, make your own jokes. You're going to learn to pause instead of stop. Okay? Go to Instagram and watch Morgan Leonard shoot. I believe it's 3-gun something. Morgan Rose 3-gun. Her videos are an absolute textbook on pausing instead of stopping. And because she's not quite as fast as Christian Seiler, it's easier to see. Christian Seiler does it too, but he does it a little bit quicker and it's a little bit more difficult to see. But when you watch videos of competition shooters, I want you to pay attention to the amount of time spent not shooting and pay attention, to transitions, which is also a period of time spent not shooting. Who cares? Hit Factor does not give a shit about your splits and is waiting to smite you with the almighty smiter if you don't understand that. So, if you think about the stage hijinks, okay, press pause on your podcast, whatever you're doing, and pull up the USPSA Classifier hijinks. You've got a corner with, I believe, 6 shots. And then you've got another corner with 6 more shots. I believe it could be 8. I'm almost 100%. Yeah, it is 6. 1, 2. Yeah. Okay. Relatively sure. It could be 8, but I'm pretty sure it's 6. Most people, B class and under, are going to look at those corners and go, okay, you can start anywhere you want to. All the targets are available from the hard left corner and the hard right corner. You cannot, I have never seen anybody get a GM score using that method. But if you will stay shooting the entire time, your splits and transitions can be in the 30s. If they are in the 30s, a GM score is very, very easy. And I think for a masterclass score, they can be as high as 40. Right? If you stay moving. But if you have that 3-second gap of no shooting, your hit factor is 0. It's like your fuel economy when you stop. Okay? Right, I'm going down the road. I'm getting 20 miles to the gallon. This is great. When I stop, it goes to 0. And it doesn't matter how great my fuel economy was when I was moving. For whatever period of time I'm stopped, it's 0. Your hit factor when you are not shooting, periods of non-shooting, it's called the non-shooty bits, your hit factor is 0. So let's spend as little time as possible in that condition to improve our hit factor. Guys, is this making sense? I sure hope so. Chipping away at par times on known repeatable exercises is literally all you need to ever do in the entire history of your participation in this sport to get faster. This is why the USPSA classifiers are a gold mine of things you can get better at with a known limit of human function. Right? Think about my other favorite one. I believe it's called times 2. I think it's 99.10 times 2. We got to run 16 feet. I don't know what the limit of human function is for an athlete to shoot 6 shots over here, run 16 feet, and shoot 6 over there. I don't know what a great time is. But if I run the classifier calculator, I can figure out, okay, this is how much time I've got to execute these tasks. And I don't even really need, okay, so if I want an A-class run, I'm going to reverse engineer on that. In that example, I budget 4 Charlies. I don't think there's any partials in that one, so I'm going to budget 4 Charlies. They're going to be close ones because I'm going to call all green shots. I'm going to have some number of Charlies. A delta or a mic, that one's Comstock, so a delta or a mic, a red shot is going to get made up if I'm shooting for score. But let's say I need to do it in 6 seconds. Okay, I've shot it for score in 7. I want to do it in 6. It does me no good to fire another bullet until I can accomplish that task in 6 seconds. It's going to feel different. Yeah, I might need to run faster, but that's not where the big money is. The big money is getting out of that box and getting into the new one. There's 3 different ways you can do it. I don't know which one's best, but the timer will tell you that. You could lean a little bit. That'll work for some people. You could take a step out with you. In this case, you could I believe that would be your outside foot. Or you could do a crossover step with your inside foot. It doesn't really matter. But you need to get out of that box sooner to reduce the amount of time spent not shooting. You are never, ever going to miss out on a masterclass run because of your splits. Yes, you could. Unless you're being dumb, it's not going to be the splits, right? Nobody in their right mind is going to get that run down to a 1.5 seconds or 1 point. I think under 2 is where it starts to get really spicy. And then screw it up with splits. Unless you try to shoot 100% alphas, which you don't need. Oh, now you're telling me to spray Charlies. Are you even listening? You're going to call green shots on open targets. The worst thing you're ever going to have on an open target is a close Charlie. Yellow is tolerable, not tolerable, depending on some number of conditions, meaning if I'm moving, I might accept a yellow. Not shoot one on purpose, but I might accept it. If I'm leaving a position, I'm for sure going to accept a yellow because it's not worth going back for. But a red, so I'm leaving a position in an 8 hit factor and I call a mic or a no shoot, I've got 3 seconds. That's probably worth going back for. And if my egress speed has been metered out by vision, it's going to be much easier to make up, and I'm probably not going to have to. The mistake you guys make on entries, exits, and shooting while moving is here we go again. You consciously control the speed of your body. What I mean by that is you choose a speed for your body that disrespects your sight picture. It's going to feel great. It's going to feel exhilarating. You're going to love it. But if you disrespect your sight picture, it's going to be bad. And if you're ripping splits while you're egressing, it's going to be really bad. See where we're going with this? Okay, but if I let my vision dictate the speed of my egress, and this is so easy to practice, by the way. I don't know if let's just use this. This is not the finest production handgun ever made, but the finest production handgun ever made is still in my truck where it's been for a very long time. But so I'm aimed at the buttstock of some sort of rifle. Okay, I've got an acceptable sight picture. Now I'm backing up. My sight picture is acceptable. Now I'm going forward. Now I'm going to move around in a figure 8. My knee's still a little rough. And I can maintain that sight picture. That's the right speed. But let's say I really want to get out of this position. Okay. Oh, those were bad shots. Because I decided how fast to move my body with the conscious control of speed instead of letting vision dictate the speed of my body. Are we tracking here? Are we on the same page? Is this making any sense? All right. Chipping away at par times of a known exercise is all you ever need to do. Okay? Look at hijinks, for example. I don't remember right off the top of my head. I think 6 seconds. Something like that with 4 Charlies, 5.5, 6 seconds. Okay, it's very easy to do. In that situation, it's extremely easy to do if you stay moving. Okay, but you might need to use a little bit of speed mode because I need to learn what a 6-second run feels like. Okay, to do this thing, and do that thing takes me some amount of time. If I need to do those things in 6 seconds, I don't need to shoot a single bullet until I know what it feels like for my human body to do those things in 6 seconds or less. And that feeling has to become normal. Okay? The first time I went 120 miles an hour on a motorcycle was terrifying. The second time I did it was easy. And then I got to a point where I could do it every time. Right? Because now I'm not scared anymore. Okay. let's go back to hijinks a little bit. Oh, and you can also use stupid mode. Okay, let's look at the can you count classifier. 5 reload 5. Oh, that shot out is not even relevant. Well, it's super relevant. You know why? Because the limit of human function in the sport is going up. And if you want to beat the limit of human function in a sport where the limit of human function is going up, guess what you need to be doing? I made a terrible mistake when I first made Grandmaster. I thought I was the fastest human being on the planet and I turned off the par times. That was dumb. I didn't know any better. I don't know that I was getting slower, but I sure wasn't getting any faster. Right? It wasn't awesome. And if you're going to be shooting, oh, well, any division really, but open in particular, right? A guy who's getting a little bit older cannot afford to slow down. But he can shoot alphas without the conscious control of speed. Back to can you count? Okay. What was I? Oh, stupid mode. Okay. So let's say I need to be able to do that. Let's say I want to hundo that thing at the absolute limit of speed gun handling that a human being can do, which is what that is. And I need to do that 2.5 seconds. I need to draw, shoot 5 shots, reload, shoot 5 shots. It probably isn't 2.5. I think it's closer to 3.25, but it doesn't matter. Let's say it's 3 seconds. Okay. Draw, shoot 5, reload, shoot 5. Okay. I can do it in 3.9, trying to get to 3.5. Cool. All I have to do is set a par time at 3.5 and learn what it feels like to operate that piece of equipment with my human body in 3.5 seconds. The hits are irrelevant. You don't even really need to pull the trigger in stupid mode because you're capturing the feeling. Right? And trigger freeze is always caused by tension, which is always caused by trying to go fast. It literally locks up your trigger hand so the finger can't move. How do I prevent that? Count to 5 with your finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy to do. And if you need to pick up some speed in that environment, you need to do something sooner. And the shorter the exercise, the more important the start tone is. Start tone is 0.3 of a second long. If I'm trying to do something in 3 seconds, that's 10% of the time. It's non-shooting time. I need to reduce the amount of time spent not shooting. How do I get better? Reduce the amount of time spent not shooting. How do I create a better stage plan? Reduce the amount of time spent not shooting. Should I go left or right? I don't know. Which one reduces the amount of time spent not shooting? If you can't decide, it probably doesn't matter. Holy moly. So going back to hijinks for a minute. I have 2 shooters, one in Wisconsin, and so my buddy Gene in Wisconsin, my buddy Sean in North Carolina, he's the purple guy. We use hijinks to train shooting while moving. Okay? Ideally, you do it to the left and to the right, but this is lateral shooting while moving. It's also cool because it's kind of like backing up at the same time. It's fantastic. And Gene got to the GM score for sure. Sean, I believe, he's an A-class shooter. I can't remember if he was within like 0.1 hit factor of M or G. I can't remember. And it took about 60 minutes to do. That one's also really cool because it's not taxing on your body. Meaning all you're doing is just creeping back and forth while you're shooting. It isn't like you're having to sprint very far or anything like that. You can do a bunch of it. And dry firing that in somewhat of a match mode, because all you got to do is say, okay, I've got 6 seconds to creep from the left to the right, continuously shooting. My splits and transitions can be in the mid 30s, low 40s-ish. All I got to do is stay moving. It's easy. It's not taxing on the body. And you're not just practicing a classifier. You're practicing an amazing skill that you need to have. Well, you're telling me to go out and practice classifiers so I can get 100%. I'm telling you to practice the fundamentals of the sport against a known limit of human function. Pretty smart. Oh my goodness. Gaz Evans. Last time I was in South Africa, we spent 2 days on the range with him. And we made it our mission to hundo American classifiers, okay? Because Gaz doesn't know how good he is in the world outside of South Africa. But we can measure his skill against the limit of American human function. We can do that. Why would you not want that information? Why would you not want to do that? Blows the mind, okay? Movement-based classifiers are smarter to do this with, because it makes the definition of success very, very easy. I can say confidently I can take virtually any shooter any classifier that has movement, and I can get you a score above your current classification very quickly, very easily. Okay, and if you need to learn to shoot alphas without consciously slowing down, the 6-in-6 challenge that we do in class is the absolute best one in the world for learning to shoot alphas without the conscious control of speed. There's nothing better. Nothing better. Okay? And then the reps, so the mistake you guys are making, some of you, you're not getting enough reps of the new limit of human function to make it normal. This is why you can sometimes get on target in under a second. Sometimes you can't. That's because you can't reliably present the gun at 0.8 of a second, cold, on demand, every single time. This is why dry fire 2-a-days are so valuable. Okay? Because when you dry fire multiple times a day, you get greater access to your limit of human function on demand, which is pretty much what the classifier system measures. How close can you get to the known limit of human function under pressure on demand? If you want to call it cold, call it cold. I would never recommend going to a match totally cold. You're going to warm up at home a little bit, warm up in the safe area a little bit. I mean, no sport in the world except maybe chess. I don't know. They probably warm up too. You know, do they when they're eating breakfast, do they pick up the salt shaker and move it gingerly toward the sugar packets? And then do they take the fork and move it very gingerly from one side? I don't know if chess players warm up or not. Don't even really care. But no other sport, certainly no physical sport, is ever going to start competing without a physical warm-up. Okay? So, two biggest problems in the sport: conscious control of speed in competition, negative imprints during training. Yes, you are going to consciously control your speed in training. In training, you're going to identify a new limit of human function that you need or want, and you're going to rep it out until that limit of human function is now normal. That's what you're going to do. Okay? All right. So, I think that's enough for today. I think I covered everything I want to cover, and I think I did an extraordinarily good job. Please go to andersonshooting.com. Look at upcoming classes. You can see what's going on there. If you want to do a class in 2025, we need to get that sucker scheduled now. I'm going to be in Brazil for a while. I'm going to be in South Africa for a while. Let's pick a date. Let's get it scheduled. Let's get that done. Okay, let's get together. Let's improve everybody all at the same time. It's going to be great. Also, mental management online. Let me make sure I get that right. Consult my notes here so I'm not quite so bereft. Let's see. December is Wednesdays. January is Thursdays. And one of those has 2 time slots. The other one is 7 p.m. Just go to upcoming classes, andersonshooting.com. If the mental game is 75% to 100% and you're not willing to spend $300 learning how to win the Olympics, your priorities are in the wrong place. That's just all there is to it. And the other thing you've got to do is you've got to use 100% of mental management. So the percentage you use is the percentage of your potential you will reach. If you use the 3 things you like and you don't do the other 2, you're going to be at 70% of your potential. I have never gotten a single call from anybody who said I have done mental management 100% and I've not reached my potential. That's because it doesn't happen. It's as simple as that. All right, till we meet again on the range, online, on the Zoom, or anywhere else, be like me, do what I do, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, love you, bye, and get to work.